learning under Katsuri Shibata for a while was it showed me a lot of the little intricate things that I was actually doing incorrectly. It really had me rethink my fundamentals.
Sarcophagus, which he is the mummy. He is a fez wearing mummy with a red coat and really bad puns.
I was RDC's first title fight, and now it's the first international fight. So I was super excited to have an opponent from overseas.
You, petty human with the mask, tell me where Optimus Prime is.
Hey, am I seeing things, or is there like a giant talking robot looking at me right now?
Do not mess with me, human. Bring me Optimus Prime.
How about I bring you a hockey stick to the face, pal? Goombilla!
I went up to the luxury boxes where they had a box for family and friends. And that's when I looked out and I saw this little tiny ring in this giant sea of people, and I was like, holy fuck, I just did that. That's crazy.
I really think Superman's going to be another Blue Beetle, the Flash situation where they end up losing money. I would like to be proven wrong. I would like for it to be good.
This week's episode is sponsored by Dubby Energy Drinks. Dubby is a brand that is tried and tested with thousands of monthly people consuming their drinks. Dubby launched with just one flavor and slowly grew, and now they have created over 15 plus unique custom-made flavors that are enjoyed by thousands of monthly customers. So get off the big energy bandwagon and check out Dubby. This is how an energy drink should be. Jitter-free, crash-free, no sugars, no artificial colors or dyes, and no calories. And right now, you can get 10% off with the promo code ATPC90. From us here at the Adam Talks podcast as a special gift for you, just for checking out the show. So go to w.gg and use the promo code ATPC90 to get 10% off of your order now.
And we're back with another awesome episode right here. It's a hard-hitting, slamtastic episode with another awesome wrestler, former South Central Wrestling heavyweight champion, the one, the only Ray Stryker. How's it going, man?
I'm good, man. It's been busy, just living life. It's hitting the grind every single day. So I'm glad to be on here.
Yeah, man. I've been wanting to have you on for. I think I tried getting you on last season, and it just didn't work out schedule-wise or something. But man, I'm very happy to have you on. How did you get into wrestling in the first place? You've been in it for a minute. How did you get into wrestling?
Oh, dude. So this year's 15 years I've been wrestling. So I started when I was 20, but obviously pretty much like everyone else started when I was a kid watching it on TV. I was a WCW guy, so
Me too.
Grew up watching Sting and Bret Hart. I mean, those are my two guys that I kind of try to imitate a little bit. But honestly, so kind of crazy story. I was just watching TV one night, and this little promotion came up and said that they were doing independent wrestling, which I never heard of. It's crazy. I was a huge wrestling fan, but didn't know that independent wrestling even existed. Just thought that you went and tried out for WWE, and that's how it worked. And so I'm like, what is this? And my dad was watching, and he's like, hey, rewind that, because we had like the stop and play TV and stuff at the time. So we rewinded the commercial, and it was one of his coworkers that he was with that did independent wrestling. And he's like, I got to call him up and ask him about it. So we asked, and he said, yeah, come out to the show. So I came out to a couple of shows, and I started asking him, like, how do I do this? And basically it was like, hey, come work security, set up the ring, do all that stuff, and we'll give you like 30 minutes in the ring each time you do that. I'm like, okay. So I think it was a year after that when I finally officially got trained and went through the process of a full summer, like 4 or 5 days a week, and sometimes in the morning, sometimes in the night. And sometimes we had a little barn set up, and 100-degree heat and stepped the ring every single time, and then did a little workout, did our our training session, and the rest is history.
Wow, man. Dadgum, dude. I kind of stumbled upon independent wrestling on Facebook because I did backyard wrestling. I had my own backyard wrestling promotion for a little
I'll
bit.
have no comment.
You don't have to. It's no big deal. But there's a guy that I wrestled in my very first match and in my last two matches that I had. Jeremy Lewis. He was one of my backyard wrestlers. We both went up to Antonio and did learn from Aztec Warrior training. But I started training in 2018 for a little bit, and I looked it up online. I was like, where can I find pro wrestling in Hot Springs? And there it was, Aztec Warrior training. I was like, no,
Sweet.
there's no way. There's no way something like that's here, you know? And it was just like kind of like you with the commercial. I just stumbled onto it. I was like, how do you get to that point, you know? What was your first year in wrestling like? Was it rough? Was it a big learning curve or
So yeah, man. So like our wrestling, I mean, I kind of know a little bit what Antonio does for training and stuff. So my trainers all came from Harley Race. So
wow.
if anyone knows anything about Harley Race, he runs a pretty brutal, training, I guess rookie camp. But they ran it the same way. So you're doing this 1.5-mile, 2-mile run, and then set up the ring in less than 20 minutes, or you can tear it down and put it up, and then you're doing all these, Hindu squats and stuff. So just like the training was rough. So when the training started, I was in a group of, I think there was probably 14 or 15 of us, and after the first week, then we went down to like 10, and then we did like one more day, and then it was down to like 8. And then about week 2, we were down to 4 or 5, and towards the end, I was the only one left. So it was really hard. I mean, I got a lot of one-on-one training, which was nice, but then it was also kind of hard to see what you're doing wrong. You're just being told up. And same thing with my trainer too. That he can't sit back and watch because he's the one, going through the moves and stuff with me and teaching me safety stuff. So, but I mean, after that, I wouldn't say it was the first year was a grind. It was the first like 5 years was a grind. Because my company that I came up with was 3XWS in Iowa, Des Moines, Iowa. They have a huge showing. A great company. I love all those guys up there. Still talk to them today. But they are really old school. And like the locker room stuff, like I don't notice it anywhere else. Like any other venue I've been at, company I've been with, I haven't seen this stuff in the locker room. But it was like old school locker room where if you were the rookie, you didn't talk. You didn't go in and set your stuff down anywhere. You had your stuff in the outside locker room, and if they let you in, you came in and sat in there, and then you showed up and, you just knew you were going to be, I don't want to say bullied, but you say, you kind of go through, God, what is it called? Like the initiation stuff. Yeah, you got initiation stuff going on and stuff. So a lot of stuff I don't really want to get into, like stuff happened in the locker room. We kind of hear some horror stories, but man, I just know that my stuff was never left in the same spot. My stuff was always hidden, and there's a bunch of practical jokes going on. But yeah, dude, it was rough that first year. But I mean, and we worked a lot. We didn't get paid a dime. All these people coming in, barely trained, like getting their paychecks. I'm like, yeah, I don't think it took me like 3 or 4 years before I got paid. It was always like, hell yeah, you can have a hot dog. I mean, that handshake a hot dog was for real with us coming up. So. The only time I got paid was when I worked for other companies, and I was told, brought up that you can work for another company unless you get permission from the guy that trained you or the company that brought you in. So, as I got older, I realized that was kind of like a unique thing. So, definitely a different type of bringing up than most people I know around here. So
it was like you had to earn your spot in that locker room. You had to earn the place to be there.
Definitely, and like I think I took a lot better than a lot of new people because I know some guys come in and they can't take that. Like they take that harassment and they think they're being bullied, and they just get out of town. But I mean, me being in the military and being in the fire service, I mean, we do that initiation all the time. So like some of these, I'm like, dude, you're not gonna get to me because I mean, I've had worse being in the military or being in the fire department. Man, I'm like, this is the same shenanigans. So I'm used to it, seen it all.
Yeah.
So
I'm guessing that helped.
earn your stripes, man.
Yeah, I'm guessing that helped though, being in the military and stuff like that, to have tougher skin while you're in the locker room, right?
Oh, for sure. I mean, I'm not gonna say that like my feelings weren't hurt because I think every match, whether I had a good match or a bad match, didn't matter. I always had a shit match. To what they say, you know. They're like, "Hey, sir, will you watch my match? Come back." Dude, it was awful. It was shit. I don't even know where to start. They'll tell you a few things, like, but really, even if you fix that, it's still gonna be the shits.
Man, like, all right, so you started off there in Des Moines, Iowa, and how did you get to Arkansas and start wrestling here? I mean, was it just moving here and then you were like, I'm gonna find a promotion here to wrestle for, or was it more different than
Dude,
that?
dude, that's kind of a love story in a way.
Okay.
So, actually, I was training, and my wife knows how I like telling the story. So I was training in Fort Smith, Arkansas, with the military actually, and we were out St. Patty's Day weekend, and I bumped into an Arkansas girl who's now my wife, um, and we hit it off, exchanged numbers, and kind of went the back and forth long distance relationship for a while, and then like, you know what? I was just finished paramedic school, and I was like, I need to change the scenery. I was, ready to move on, do a different, do something different with my life. And I'm like, let's go down. I'm gonna move down to Arkansas, and then next is history. Started going down here. I worked for. Uh, Actually, for me to get started down here, it was kind of tough because actually, for my first year living down here, I was still driving back up to Arkansas to work. So I was
Oh,
still, luckily, I was still doing drill up in Arkansas. So my military stuff was still in excuse me, still doing my military stuff in Iowa, and just so happened to lined up with the 3XW schedule. So I'd go up there on Friday, work Friday night, and then do my guard duty that weekend with the military, and then drive back. But so really for a while, I wasn't even working any Arkansas shows, and I was managing a sporting goods company, and this is gonna sound terrible, dude, but some people walked in wanting uh, MMA gloves, and then they started talking, and then started realizing they weren't talking about fighting UFC and stuff. They're talking about working independent wrestling. So I'm like, I started, kind of asking a few questions what they're doing with it. And it's like, oh, we're working this wrestling show here coming up in Be Queen. I'm like independent wrestling? He's like, yeah, man. I'm like, I do independent wrestling. He's like, what do you mean? I'm like, I've been doing it for like 6 years now. So you think you get me in with these guys? But dude, it was not a good it was not a good company. I got there and like I'm not trying to brag on 3XW. 3XW was a legit company, man. They had like the jumbotron behind you. They had the all the setup. They had the lights. You had anywhere from 200 to 500 people per each show, and they still draw good
wow.
like that today. And they'd be going to like stadiums there, once or twice a year, and you have occasionally like big names come through. So like being from Iowa, Seth Rollins, we knew him as Tyler
Oh,
Black back then, and some other names, but he wrestled with our company quite a bit before before he went to Ring of Honor, and then when he went to Ring of Honor, he'd still come down and do a couple shows a year. And then we've had
wow.
AJ Styles come in and do stuff, and but so when I came down here, I come in there, like I walk in, there's like 20 people in the crowd. I'm like, oh, I've never done this before. What is this? So I kind of got spoiled early in my career, where it's like you're always working in front of 100+ people everywhere you go. But I was guided by those, like my trainer and stuff. He's like, yeah, you don't want to work there. We'll get you booked here. So I was always went to good bookings, and then when I got down here, I walked in, I'm like, man, this is. I think it might have even been at like a. Uh, with like a rodeo stadium type deal. So we were in the dirt. One of them, I know that for sure. I don't know if it was like my first one or second one, but I was like, "What have I gotten myself into? This is crazy." But then I found SEW, and originally they were just getting started, and we had the Boys and Girls Club there in Hot Springs, and I liked that. really enjoyed doing that. And I still, and then I worked Harrison, Arkansas with Mid-States Wrestling up there with Jason Jones and stuff. Those are the two companies I ran with, and didn't want to spread myself out too thin. Just did the two companies, and CCW came later once they started recruiting. So,
So is there like a big? I was thinking about this because I've worked SCW and I've worked this other company in Fort Smith, IWF, and there's a difference in those two companies, like big time behind the scenes in booking and everything else, in the way they handle the talent and everything, pay, all of it. It's all different. Is it like that with every company? You get a different scheme, you get a different type, or is there companies that are very similar to each other?
I think so. I think they're going to be different. I know, like the companies I worked with in Iowa, so most of them who are intertwined in a way. So, like, we used a lot of the same talent for all these different shows. So they were similar. So, because they all kind of came up together and had their own companies and stuff. Worked for Magnum Pro up in Omaha, and it was almost identical. Just some of the they had different rules. So Magnum Pro. If you look up in their stuff, they just had a huge show with in a stadium, and they had I think they probably had like 1,000 people there. It looked like, but
Right.
but they were very similar, except they were more R-rated, I'll say. Yeah, like the cursing was there, and some different antics was allowed, but up there the big difference was most of the venues they had a bar. So there was drinking going on, which loosened everyone up in the crowd, so it was easier to work. But as in for like pay and booking, like locker room stuff, dude, everywhere's different. And like I was talking about up there, like the locker room is more strict. When the companies I came from come down here, and the locker rooms are just lax and stuff, and everyone's coming out down. Some companies you get paid when you show up. Some companies you get paid when your match is done. Some companies you get paid when soon as the show's done. And then, some companies, you got to have their ring and everything broken down before you get paid, which is kind of like my experiences around here in Arkansas is, they want the whole thing cleaned up before talent gets paid. And then some of those little companies that I started off with that said the shows aren't great, you don't get paid at all. So definitely owed money out there somewhere. So, but definitely there's a big difference.
Have you ever had to work like untrained talent before, like in an actual match, in front of people and everything? People that had either zero training or they had training and they didn't.
Dude, yes. Okay, so I got a bunch of stories. So there's a lot in that, and this is unfortunate because, like I said, I came up from a different place where you paid, anywhere from 1,000 to 50,000 to 1,500 to train, and there was none of this. Like, you're booking people that weren't trained. You had to have some school sign off on you and say you're good to wrestle. So, and then I come down here, and I told you that guy that was recruiting me was buying UFC gloves, and I ended up working him, but he told me, he was like, yeah, I'm a 6-year vet, man. So I'm, I know what I'm doing. I'll take you in my wing. I'm like, okay, I've been in the same time as you, but okay, dude, whatever. I'm like, and I wouldn't call myself a vet at 6 years, but all right. And then I talked to him about the UFC gloves, and he started telling me, yeah, I throw a dangerous punch. So the Arkansas Athletic Commission requires me to wear these gloves. I'm like, what am I getting myself into? So I work him, and man, like I tell him, like, hey, we're gonna, just gonna go ahead and do this suplex. I call it suplex. Where it's in a battle royal. We were getting down to the last few people, so there wasn't a whole lot of people. I know you're not supposed to do like suplexes in the battle royal, but it was like, calm down, people. It was like 6 guys in the ring. We were working. Everyone had a little shine spot, and I don't know if he didn't hear what was said or whatever, but he dropped down to his knees like a child. I'm like, no, dude, we're doing a suplex. And he's like, no, I don't do that. I'm like, what the heck, dude? And I pick him up and I try to muscle, and he drops down to his knees again like a child. I'm like, all right, so, you kind of get a little shoot action right there. I'm going to give you a couple slaps and I'll listen, dude. So, but that was one instance. And I noticed, I mean, there's been quite a few different times where I'm just told like these guys are trained, and I get in there, and they just can't do the simple stuff. They can't chain. For those that don't know, chain wrestling is like one of the first things you should learn when you become a wrestler, and it's just basically grappling. I said we're going to chain, and then I have people trying to, I guess, call. I don't know if we're breaking kayfabe here. I don't know how much kayfabe you want out, but I mean everyone kind of knows now what wrestling is. But we're going to call chain wrestling. I'm like, dude, we don't call no chain wrestling. You just go out there and do it. We feel off each other, but dude, there's a lot. I try to be professional. I try to work with these guys, but what's the biggest thing we learn in training is safety. And when I don't feel safe, then some stuff we're not going to do. And I'm going to take my safety over you wanting me to play wrestler. So there's some guys, sometimes I'm not very nice to some guys, but I do try to I try to take that. Like, I want to be the guy that teaches you, but then I find out they're getting paid the same as me, then I get kind of pissed off.
But yeah, they don't know what the hell they're doing. I mean, why are they getting paid the same as someone who knows like miles more than what they know? It doesn't make any sense. I know in my second match, I went against a wrestler. You may have heard of this guy in South Central Wrestling. He's a Japanese wrestler named Mitch Black. I went against him in my second match, and I remember in there, it was something I missed something. I missed a spot or something. He said, "You don't fucking listen," or something like. He's like, "You don't listen to me. I'm gonna catch you for real." I'm like, "Oh shit, I gotta listen to this dude, man. He's gonna kill me." You know what I mean? So I get it, man. Get it.
I think now that we're at this part of my career, I could say, if you didn't know already, Mitch Black was an alter ego created when I was a rookie. So this was something when I first started. Like, hey, we need to get you more matches. So I'd work a dark match, and I'd work as Mitch Black, and then really it's funny. This is so funny. The name came from all I had was a black. Someone gave me a black spandex shirt to cover up my tattoos so people wouldn't know, and then someone gave me some black extra tights that they had, and we literally went to the merch table, and they were selling little luchador masks, and they grabbed a black mask and threw it to me, and they're like, "Well, what should we call you?" I'm like, "I don't know." And they're like, "Well, you're wearing black, so something black something." Or then one of the guys that gave me his stuff, his first name was Mitch. He's like, "Mitch is a good name." I'm like, "So we went with Mitch Black," and they're like, "Hey, we want you to work completely different, and we're going to play." And there's kind of a rib, so they wanted a joke. So they took the music from, oh my gosh, hold on. What's the, oh my God, I can't think of the name. This is terrible. The movie with John Travolta, Samuel L. Jackson, Bruce Willis. It's
Pulp Fiction. No, yeah,
Pulp
no,
Fiction.
not Pulp.
I can name all the guys.
Okay.
Yeah, Pulp Fiction. Yeah. So they wanted they took the music from, I guess, when they were in the basement tied up, and they had the little guy dressed as a gimp that came out all black leather and stuff. They took the music when they brought this gimp guy out to, you know what happens in the movie, basically have his way with this guy, and they played that music as a joke, and they said, we're going to play this music, and I had to do it. So, like I said, like there was some shenanigans in the locker room, and like, we want you to be different and be weird. You do some gold dust stuff. So that's the way I worked. And of course, that version you did not get because I have, my family comes to these shows. I ain't doing that stuff anymore. But yeah, me and you did work together, and that was, that is the way we get in there. Like, I'm not going to intentionally hurt you if you're trying to listen, but I will let you know, like, hey, listen.
So, I think I was just forgetting something. Like there was a hip toss or something that I missed, and you're like, "I said this, you don't do it." I'm a clothesline. I'm actually gonna give you something. I'm like, "Well, I better listen then." So, and then me and Antonio watched the match back, and he was like, "You were just going, man. You're not selling enough." I'm like, "Well, all right. I thought it was a pretty good match. Felt like a good match to me, but."
To be fair with you too, and I haven't worked that character for a while, and it was a while since I've worked heel. And if you guys watched my last CCW, you get to see a little bit of that heel come out, which was a little more natural. I think that one was. But when it's kind of forced and you're kind of trying to play two roles and don't have really a storyline why you're a heel, it's just it's a little bit harder to do. But so I was kind of inexperienced for your sake, to make you feel a little bit better. It was me trying to find my character at the same time. So I know we weren't gelling as not as good as we could have been. But so just to don't be hard on yourself. I was just screwing up this as much as you, but I mean, it just comes back to safety. I don't want you to get hurt. Don't want me to get hurt. So I'm like, hey, I'm gonna, I'm gonna threaten you. Am I trying to hurt you? No, dude. But if if I get something, lay something in a little stiff to make you listen, like, hey, dude, I just learned. I'm gonna listen. But when I was coming up, we had a guy. I'll leave his name off. I don't think he's gonna listen to this podcast, but dude was built like a rock. He was probably on the roids, and he was a total jerk in the locker room. So I knew it may put me in a match against him. And okay, if y'all, you know what, he ain't gonna listen to this. If you guys look up any match, look on YouTube, find some Mark Sterling videos, and you can in the way he is in the ring, because he plays the same character, is the same exact way he is in the locker room. I mean, you might get him in a conversation every now and then where he's not as bad, but dude, yeah, you watch him in the ring, and that same intensity is how he was all the freaking time. So I was just scared to my bones. I'm like, dude, this guy's gonna knock my block off. He's a good wrestler. I'm in my first or second year. I'm not any good. And this guy gets in here and he's calling everything. We didn't talk about hardly anything in the back, and I'm just basically bumping and feeding to him. And I just kept doing that. And he wanted me to do something back, and he's like, "Oh, nope, nothing." And boom, the guy get a good one right across the chin. I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm listening. So, but dude, I was like, I was just trying to get through that match to get to the end, because that guy started laying some stuff in. I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm listening, whatever you want. So,
for me it was a lot easier. I've only had 7 matches in my career. For me, it's a lot easier to talk about what we're wanting to do before we go out there a little bit, kind of discuss it, figure out some sort of a game plan. It doesn't have to be exact, but just spots even, we're going to do this, and then we'll lead into this somehow. Or we'll chain a little bit of this and then get into that, or whatever, and I know there are some people that can get out there and just do it, man. They just know, all right, we're going to go out there and have a banger. We ain't even got to talk about nothing, does that kind of thing come with experience, just come with time? Or is it something that some people are just like, I'd rather do it this way than that way?
Yeah, so I'm going to say kind of a little bit of both. Because there definitely is people that are way better at that than I am. I am still to that today, because I don't want to screw up anyone else's move, and I don't want anyone to screw up my move. I don't want to actually hurt anyone or kind of looks floppy in the ring, because it always happens when there's miscommunication on what you wanted to do, or you had a different train of thought. So, I found out what helps me is like, this is a story I want to do. I'm like, here's 5 things I want to do to this match. Or if I go there, this is my 5 things we might only do 2 of them, but here's my 5 things that I might work in here, and here's kind of the storyline. And that's kind of what's lost a lot with a lot of wrestlers. I mean, we're calling matches, we're going to go out there and call it in the ring. Hey, we'll call it in the ring, bub, Which I'm like, okay, let's do it. But hey, what's our storyline? Like, what are we doing? Like, I think you have to have that. And that's my only thing. If you want to call it in the ring, okay, what's our storyline? What are we trying to push here? Like, what is our objective of this match? What do you want out of it? So that's kind of like a lost art, but I'm to this day still, I want to know at least 5 things. I want a roadmap. I don't want to know every single move we're going to do, or hey, if I get here. But if you have something that's different, or requires, 3 or 4 things to happen to look good, and me to feed to a certain spot, yeah, let's talk about that. Or if you're going to do something that, if you don't do it right, you're going to get hurt. Okay, let's go over this move a little bit before we're out there. But I'm to this day still not that great about just calling it out there. But if I have a roadmap or little high spots and stuff here, like, okay, in the storyline, then I can make it look decent.
Man, I wrestled, I wrestled you, and I wrestled Diesel Dog the next month, I think. Now he's going as Nate Hammer again, I guess. but I wrestled Diesel Dog the month after, I believe. And I learned so much from being in the ring with y'all because y'all are way more experienced than I am. I learned how to listen when I was in the ring with you because I was trying to just remember everything we had talked about because we had a semi game plan, but my ears weren't open. You know what I'm saying? So it was a little bit difficult whenever for me whenever I was out there trying to remember everything. And then at that one point, you're like, I said this, you got to listen, and I was like, that's part of the fucking thing. You got to listen. Why aren't you
Yeah.
listening? So I learned that when I was in there with you, but also before the match, you kind of had me. I think me, Glenn, and other people were in the ring, and you're like, you can body slam me. I'm like, no, I can't. You're way bigger than I am. And you're like, yeah, no, it's not about how big I am. I'm helping you to do it. And that's
Yeah.
something that I don't think I even realized because a lot of the times you see it, it's like people are just picking people up and throwing them down. You don't see the other side of it. You help me see that a
Yeah.
lot.
Yeah.
And I think that that's something integral that I don't think some places, I've heard this from other wrestlers, some veterans don't want to help the younger people. They're still trying to have their glorious time right now. Have you ever had
Right.
those situations?
I mean, I came up different. Like we talked about the differences where I came up. Every veteran, even though they ribbed you, they wanted to work with you, but because they wanted you to be better, whatever. So I mean, I had a lot of people work with me, so I tried to do the same. And for me, even with my military career and my firefighting career, I always want to work with guys. Like I want to work the new guys coming in. That's who I want to work with. Same thing in the wrestling world. I mean, I want to have a good match, and I know when you have new guys come in there, you're not always going to have a good match. But I want to work with y'all and figure out, what's best. But that's something too where like I'm telling you, like it's not about you picking me up; it's about me helping you get up. And there's still people, and I'm sure you've seen it at some of the shows. There's people that aren't going to help you get up. Like there's guys that weigh 180 pounds, and I'm a pretty strong person, and I'm like, dude, like you jump, like help me out here. Let's, this is a team. That's why, like some of this just called out there, like we were talking about earlier, like why I never like was completely on board 100% because like, hey, I didn't know what move you're gonna do, so I can help you with it. There's no reason why anyone should have to force you up. I mean, I know there's been a time where someone's just muscled me up, and I'm like, dude, I probably in the move to them, like, sorry, and let you know, like I know I switched to a jump, but I mean, that's why training is important. You hit on that earlier. Like, have you ever wrestled untrained guys? I'm like, yes. And because they ain't helping you. You're muscling them up. You're putting them in the moves. They ain't jumping. You get done with your match and you're sore, not from the match being brutal, but because you just spent the last 10 minutes, lifting weights, But,
Yeah.
so yeah, this is just some of the guys, I mean, I don't know if I see people that just don't want to work with new guys, but you can see them in the locker room. They're going to keep to themselves. They just don't care. There's guys that are trying to make it. I think those are the guys that don't want to help anyone. The guys that are trying to make it WWE. I came in and maybe the first 4 years, I'm like, yeah, I'm going to make it. I'm going to try out for WWE. And one day it's going to be me up there. And then I realized I don't think I can do that. The schedule's hard, I'm like just at that time I wasn't as big as I am today. I'm like I wasn't big enough. I didn't have the moveset, didn't have the skill. I'm like these guys are crazy. I can't talk on the mic, so I gave up on that. And I'm like, well, I want to work with new people. I want to just I'm doing this for me, doing this for the kids out there or the families out there that can't afford to go to Monday Night Raw when it comes to town. They can only afford a $10 ticket. I'm like, that's what I'm like. I changed my mind. I'm like, you know what? This is better. These guys don't get experience this, and they're way more grateful for you. So the guys that aren't helping people, I know it's more. So the guys that are trying to make it, they're actually out there trying to make it. And I think that maybe that's one way to protect it or help them make it is if they don't have any competition. But that's not everyone. Obviously, that's not everyone. But I think it's just my experience. Just some of the guys that's been doing it for a long time. You can tell in the locker room because they ain't talking to anyone. They ain't being bullies. They're going to be the maybe a bully in the locker room. But I think really for RXW, SCW, the Mid States Wrestling, and CCW. Some of the other ones, there's only probably a handful in all those combined companies that were like that. But I think more often than not, everyone wants to work with you. But some of them could be old school mind. Like a lot of mine, if you don't ask me, I ain't gonna tell you. They want you to ask because as a greenhorn or someone new, you need to be asking questions. You need to be asking people to watch your match. You need to ask for feedback. And then if they tell you the shit, you're like, you don't argue with them. And that's kind of something that's changed the business along with the world and this generation. You try to get feedback, and then now you're suddenly they feel like they're being attacked, and then now you're the asshole. I'm like, dude, you want me to watch your match and get feedback? I'm supposed to tell you you're the best, you're the greatest of all time. Yeah, you should take my spot. Here you go. Here's the World Heavyweight Championship.
Man, what was it like for you whenever you got the chance? Well, before I get that question, I'm a big fan of mental health. I have anxiety, I have depression, this and that, and this is a part of the show where I like to talk a little bit about that. You had moments of anxiety or depression or anything like that, whether it was in your wrestling career or any other time, and how did you get through those if you did?
Dude. Okay, so I'll be honest right now. I've been in the military for 17 years, been on several deployments. Being a firefighter, I've seen a lot of stuff. So, like, I have been diagnosed with PTSD. I have depression, anxiety, take medicine. The depression is more feeds off my PTSD and anxiety. So it's not like I walk around sad all day. It's just I get in states where I get sad, from some of the stuff we've been into. So, so I appreciate you being open about that because I'm there with you, brother. If you need anything at any time, or if anyone out there needs anything, please ask for help if you need it. But we're talking about anxiety. You can have a burning building right now, and there's someone trapped or inside, and I ain't gonna hesitate. I ain't gonna be nervous. I'm going. But you get me ready for a match, and even to this day, I'm still like, oh, I'm gonna get sick, or I need to go to the bathroom. It eventually gets better, but man, my anxiety for when I had to go out for a wrestling match was so much worse than any time that I've had any kind of structural fire where I'm about to be deployed. I know I'm not gonna see my family in 6 months, and it's crazy to think about. You have some anxiety, but nothing compares to like my first 2 years in the wrestling business, going out there in front of 200 some people. So that anxiety, I don't think I ever completely get over with because I just had, one of my last matches, here a couple weeks ago, and I was still nervous, still thinking about, I don't want to screw this up. I got to do this, and that's still, and I think that's a good thing. If people say they're never nervous, I think the only people that maybe can say that is people maybe that worked it. Maybe the people that made it, then they do this, 3 times a week. But I guarantee those guys still on the big shows, they still get nervous. So if you aren't nervous, then I don't know that you care anymore.
Yeah, man. If you go out there and you're not nervous, you're just doing it to do it. At that point, you're not doing it because you love it or you care about it. You're nervous. You get anxious about things that you actually care about, things that mean something to you. So whenever you get out there, like, to do something like right now, for me, it was scary the very first time I went out in front of a crowd and wrestled. It was like I had anxiety. I almost felt sick to my stomach, but then it switched immediately to like excited jitters, like, woo, let's go. Woo. It was like that for me, like immediately after, and that never bugged me, but I have crippling anxiety whenever it comes to me trying to play any music that I've written or go to a bar and play my stuff. I can't do that, man. I can't play music and sing in front of people, but I can go out there all day in fucking tights and no shirt and let my unfit body show in front of people. I'm fine with that. But whenever it comes to sitting down on a stage fully clothed with a guitar singing, that's too much for me. And
you're exposing
I don't
too much
know.
of yourself, man.
I mean, that could be it. It really could be. I feel like through therapy, it's a lot. It's helped a lot to get out of my anxious bubble. You know what I'm saying? Like I have anxiety. I have depression. It's not severe depression, but whenever my anxiety gets high, I go downhill quick, and it could
Yeah.
be from anything at any point. It could even be my ADHD making me think that I have anxiety. But whenever it does, I go downhill really fast. And I've found that through therapy, I've came a long way from going downhill, from being able to have anxiety. I'm able to talk myself out of it. Because you get in a hole, you know what I'm saying? You get in a hole sometimes in your brain and you're just like, dig, 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 dig. And you can't go up when you're digging, So I've found a way to make a ladder, I guess, in my brain out of that hole. You
Oh
know,
yeah, I completely understand, man. Um, dude, that's kind of like what hits me. Like you say, like, oh, when you got out there, you got excited. I think my first few matches, I don't think I ever got excited. I think I was just nervous the whole time, and I was just trying not to throw up. But like even now, like I'm still not comfortable. Still not completely comfortable with my body. So like, I think that's why I get so anxious. Though, if I'm gonna try to show more skin, like I'm like, yeah, I don't know about that. Like I'm like, yeah, dude, I can go out there. I'm like, wait, nope, let me cover some of this up. So, that's still that anxiety coming out, and then, if you would look at my camera roll and see like the promos I cut, you're going to see 100 failed videos because I get to talking and I just like, I don't know what I'm talking about. My anxiety hits like, oh no, this is stupid. I like, and that's still today. Like me doing this podcast, at first I was like, oh, I don't know. It's me talking, putting myself out there. But me trying to talk on video and stuff and have someone record me talking or get out in front of a bunch of people, I still like, that's probably the most anxious I get.
I understand that, man. It was the very first, so my first 3 episodes of this show, I think, or maybe 4 or 5, something like that, was just me by myself. And then I had just a friend or two. I'd have a friend come on every other week, or a family member or something. Someone I wasn't afraid to talk to. But then my brother goes, why don't you ask some of these local MMA fighters to come on, or some of your wrestling buddies or something? I'm like, dude, they won't come on. They're famous. Are you kidding me? They're not gonna spend time talking to some nobody like me. He's like, they're just people, and that clicked in my head in a really hard way. So I just started messaging everyone. Hey, Dewan Pickney. Hey, Chauncey Foxworth. Hey, Solo Hatley. Let's Antonio. Drayshawn. Ray Stryker. Just
Yeah.
messaging anybody I could to see if they'd come on, and I got several people that were like, "Yeah, I'll come on and say hey. I'll come on and talk for a little bit." But it was so nerve wracking for me to do that because I was like, I thought so little of myself that I didn't think anybody else would spend that hour or however long just chatting it up with me. And it took a minute for me to get out of that.
Yeah.
Um, and I think that's something I think everybody goes through at a time or another in their life. As far as it doesn't have to be a show or wrestling or anything like that, but they go through that feeling of, I'm not really worth your time. I'm not worth talking to. So why am I going to put myself out there to do anything? But my therapist
So for sure.
said 9 times out of 10, it's just fear. You're just afraid. And what's on the other side of fear? The one thing that you want, whatever it is, that's on the
Yep.
other side of fear. So I've been
Yeah.
trying to adapt that to my life and tell anybody else to listen.
Hey man, that therapy stuff's good. I'm kind of just tiptoeing into it, so we'll see how it goes in the future. But look, we just turned a wrestling podcast or into a mental health awareness podcast. So anyone out there
Yeah, man.
listening, that I mean, it's for real. Like get some help, get some of that therapy. I've just kind of just started it. It's a lot of help in it. So man,
I'm
anxiety.
going.
I
I'm sorry.
notice nowadays everyone wants to say they have anxiety, and I think a lot of it's with the way the world is, and we're all out there publicly, and then like even I think some of it has to do with our diets and what they put in food. And I don't want to be conspiracy theorists or anything, but anxiety is like a big thing, and I've lost a bunch of friends. I shouldn't say a bunch. I've lost a few friends, and I've seen a lot of suicides. So anxiety, depression, like it may sound like a joke to a lot of people because everyone has it, but for real though, that stuff gets serious real quick, and sometimes you don't know when it gets serious. So if anyone out there is for real, like, y'all need anyone to talk to, reach out to some of those hotlines, get some therapy, because it does help.
Dude, it does 100%. Went through a divorce with my ex-wife, and the only reason I left her is because I got into therapy, and I was able to find in myself that I was worth more than what I was worth more than what I thought I was worth, and I was able to
Sure.
walk away from a bad situation,
Well,
And
that's
I
good,
feel like
man. That's good that God kind of.
I feel like myself and my kids are much happier the way we are now, instead of them hearing me and their mom fighting all the time, yelling at each other, this and that. It wasn't a good situation. 15 years was a long time, but very happy that I'm out of that, and I've got I have a beautiful wife now that loves me, treats me good, and supports me in literally anything that I try to do. Whether it's the music, I do audio dramas, so I like I cast people, I write these things, and then I get people to voice act in them. She supports me in that. She supports me in the music. She
That's cool.
supported me in the wrestling. So it's a completely different scenario than I've ever actually had. So it's something wonderful and new, and that's all because of therapy, honestly.
Yeah,
And putting the work in is an important part of therapy. Putting the work in is very important.
agreed. Yeah.
So getting out of this, like this is a new thing that I've been doing on the past 3 or 4 episodes, is this therapy session right in the middle, because I'm very passionate about that. But getting out of that, going back to the wrestling world again, what was it like for you to win your first championship in any promotion? What was that feeling like for you?
So I want to kind of cancel the first one I won because it was from one of those companies that, didn't really respect as much and didn't have any people there. So that one, I got, I'm like, yeah, I should have this because no one's trained here. So,
I
so
deserve it.
I'm like, yeah, this is crazy. Why would you have anyone else do it? But that being said, like, I told you earlier, I was this for 15 years. This is the first year that I've held titles anywhere I went.
Wow.
I've been other places. I've been in title matches all the time. I'm probably like 50-0 for title matches up until this year. There's been some little local, like small promotions here and there that I held a title for them, but then they never ran again, or I held a title for them and then they didn't book me the next one, and then I wasn't available, and so the title just went back. So I'm like, I don't count those. I'm talking about the companies that I run with all the time that put a title on me. So first, of course, it was SEW there in Hot Springs or Mountain Pine. So it was emotional for me. It's something that we talked about doing. Gosh, it seems like the last 6 or 7 years. Because I remember the first time I worked with Antonio, he's like, "Hey, this is the vision we have. We're going to do this, and we want to end a year or 2 out with you holding the title." So we kind of planned that all the way out. Fast forward 2 years, I've deployed with the military. We don't do that. I come back,
Yeah.
start working again. Hey, we're gonna do the title thing. So I'm like, okay, let's do it. Let's make this run. So we're gonna do all this stuff. We'll make it make sense. Which I agree. It's a year build up. Let's do it. And I think at that time, we were fostering some kids and stuff. So I'm like, hey, Antonio, I just need a break for a few months. And then I kind of like didn't go on the break because I found out then I was deploying again. So this is over a 4-year span. I'm about to deploy again. I'm like, hey, and next year I'm deploying. So we're going to do this title thing. He's like, well, we'll hold off. We'll wait till you come back from deployment. And I guess that's when we did the fostering a bunch of these kids and stuff. And I'm like, man, I'm too busy for this. I got to take a break from wrestling. I think that break lasted like 3 months. I came back. So we finally get to where we are now. It's just I had an injury. I don't know if everyone knows, like I had a hip replacement. So for real, we worked it as a gimmick, as a storyline. But really, in 2016, when I deployed, I came off a truck hard and I had full fire gear on. And we think that's when I messed up my hip originally. I know everyone's like, "Oh, it's pro wrestling that messed up your hip." I'm like, well, dude, we land on our back. Like, I don't ever land on my hip. When I came off this truck, it was like all this weight, coming down on my legs and stuff, and I complained of a lot of back pain. My back pain, my lower back pain went away, and then I started like limping, which I just thought I pulled a muscle, and then it never went away. So like 6 months to 9 months, whatever it was, I was limping around. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna go get this looked at. And so I went to therapy, like physical therapy, and that's when we found out about. They're like, yeah, you have a hip of a 60-year-old. So I'm like, oh, great. So that kind of derailed the title again. And then I'm like, Antonio, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to wrestle after this. Like, I have a full hip replacement. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to wrestle. The doctor's saying, yeah, you probably shouldn't wrestle. Everything you do is taking years off that hip. I'm like, so how many, like, I'm like, how long till I get out of this hip? And he's like, oh, maybe 20 years. I'm like, and if I wrestle and run, he's like, maybe 10. I'm like, 10 years. That puts me a little over 40 years old. All right, let's do that. Like when I'm 40, I'll slow down. So I'm like, we'll keep wrestling. But and then for me, that became, everyone told me, no, you had a hip replacement, you can't wrestle. So now you just challenged me. I got to do something that you just said I couldn't do. So, it's been a year and a half just about for my hip replacement. Haven't really had any pain. I mean, I have certain things I can't do. I know I can't do certain leg locks and stuff. I'm like, yeah, you ain't gonna move that way. But it was kind of already like that. So even when me and you wrestled, I was having limited movement in that hip. It's better now than what it was then when we wrestled, but I still can't do stuff. But which I guess that's a pretty good segue. We did all of that, and I felt good about my return. Like winning the title finally. It was emotional, definitely extremely emotional. And I don't think Antonio knew. He knew I wanted to be a champion and I wanted to work the angle, but I don't think he knew that it meant as much as he did to me. And then now to last last month, I just dropped the title to Drayshawn Prince, which was something I didn't want to do yet. I wanted to you want to have a long run, wanted to get soak it up because it was something that spent 6 years chasing.
Yeah.
And really for 15 years of my career chasing to have what's called that actually meant something. So he'll probably never fully understand that it meant a lot to me than just a storyline or whatever. Just another champion on his belt, on his company, but. It really did mean a lot just because it was so long in that company and I had so many title matches and so many failed opportunities and I just wanted to represent that company. So to me, it was a lot. And then it was just kind of, I guess, perfect timing because we won that. And then the next month I got told by CCW to say, hey, we're going to put you in this little tournament thing and we're going to have you win it and you're going to be the CCW Heartland Championship or heavyweight champion. And, I'm like, cool, awesome, and I started with them from the beginning. So they started up, I was on their the first or second show. I can't remember if I made the first one or not, but I can't remember which one it was, but it was definitely the first or second one, and then kind of been running with them from the beginning. So I'm like, yeah, man, this is awesome. The new company, the one I started with, and they're already putting that trust in you because, breaking kayfabe again, you're not actually going out there and you're stronger than people. It's about that company trusting you and about your crowd reaction, your likability, whether you're face or heel, you could say that, oh, the crowd hates you, or the crowd hates you, you can't be champion. I'm like, no, if the crowd hates you, then you should be champion. So it's all about that crowd reaction, and then if that promoter really has that faith in you, like, are you going to be able to, carry the company, make them look good, because you're going to be the last match, the last one everyone remembers. So to me, that meant a lot. And me having to lose both these titles, it kind of sucks. But I'm at the point in my career now where I've told both the companies that I'm retiring. I'm stepping away from wrestling. I've done it for 15 years. I'm at a point in my life. I'm 35 years old. I got 4 kids. I got a wife. If I like my new schedule, I'm gone 50% of the time. So when I'm home, I'm like, well, I don't want to leave. I just got home. Sorry if you can hear my dogs barking. Oh, my kids just
That's
looking
fine,
outside.
man.
um, but Dan, so my kids are getting involved in stuff, and you start running into the things where I have a wrestling booking, but my daughter also has a game to cheer. So they start doing competition cheers and stuff like that. And like, so my wife's like, "Hey, what you're wrestling, but she has this competition cheer, thing going on." I'm like, "Crap." I'm like, "Where are they at?" Try to see if I can make them both work. Like, well, one's up in Alma, but you wrestle in Hot Springs. I'm like, that's a long ways away.
Yeah.
So you kind of just realize that, am I really about to put myself over my kid? And luckily Antonio's worked with me a lot, and CCW's worked with me a lot. Where I say, hey, I can't work this show, and they don't really punish me for it, but I know I let them down, and I'm a guy that I'm not gonna let you down. If I say I'm gonna do something, we're gonna do it, and I don't like to be the guy that people can't count on. So that's really hard for me. That's part of like one of those things that causes anxiety. Is me like, you want me to do something, and me telling you no, I can't do that. That's really hard for me. So, but now I just realized, like, dude, I cannot put wrestling in front of my family. So I announced, told people, I'm retiring. I'm done with wrestling. And one of my promoters from Iowa, 3XW, he's like, I told him that I'm like, hey, I'm done. And he's like, what, dude? I'm like, yeah. He's like, no one's ever done from wrestling. I'm like, that's true. So I'm like, and I knew when I say it in my head, I'm not convinced I'm actually retired, but I could see me doing, a match here or there, every year. But I'm retired from committing to companies, committing to anybody. When I feel like I want to wrestle, I'm like, hey, I got some dates available. These are the only dates I work. I'm gonna throw them out there to anybody, and if they book me, awesome, I can get my match in. If they don't, then that's just part of it. That wasn't meant to be. Maybe next year, but so I'm just gonna. That's just kind of how I'm moving on with a wrestling career, and maybe I'll be one of those old guys that we see in the locker room that. My kids are grown. They're doing their own thing. I guess I'm going to put the boots back on. But, for now, for the foreseeable future, I'm retired. You'll probably see me here or there a few times. But, I feel much more relief knowing that I'm not going to let anyone down. 'Cause, my daughter just was riding in the car with me yesterday, or maybe it was this morning. And, she asked me because she was watching on the TikTok on the phone and stuff. She saw this wrestling video, and she's like, "Dad, you think you're gonna miss wrestling?" I said, "For sure, yeah." And she's like, "So why are you stopping?" I'm like, "Because you're more important than wrestling." And I get so worked up when I know that I can't do both and let people down. Like it bothers me a lot. It's just easier to step away from one of those. I'm like, obviously I can't step away from you, so I got to step away from wrestling. And yes, I'm going to miss it. Every single time I see a flyer up, I'm like, man, and that's really what bothered me before when I tried to step away for a little bit of time. I kept seeing flyers. I'm like, nope, I need to be back on the flyer. So, I need to get back out there and do it. Cause it's motivation to stay in shape, and do a lot of things and stuff. But, now I'm just like, I feel the relief, like, hey, I know I'm not going to let my family down. I'm not going to let my daughter down. I know I'm not committed to anything unless I want to be. Like, so if I have something that comes up, let's do it. But I think my goal is one day is to run my own promotion. I think something I thought about for the last 5 years. Want to get a show here in Mena. Me and Antonio tried to make it work, but for whatever reason, things just never aligned. So that's my future goal, but it takes a lot of money. Because I want to have my own ring and have my own stuff. I wouldn't want to be out anything, to paying for a ring every night, whatever, or renting a ring. So
Definitely.
maybe one day when I have a little extra cash, that's something I'll run. But it's got to be something when my kids are, grown and they don't need me every weekend, be events. So when life slows down, that could be something in my future. But
There you go. See, that's kind of been a thing. Like I said, I had a backyard wrestling promotion beforehand, and right at the end of it, I wanted to try to bring it to professional level where you get a ring, and we get everybody to go to Antonio, and he helps train the people that come in, or I can ask professionals to come in and wrestle for me. Whatever. That's kind of been a long-term goal of mine since I stopped with my promotion because I mean, even though it was backyard and everyone said, oh, or whatever about backyard, you know what I mean? Everybody's got their own opinion on it. We didn't do any hardcore stuff at ours. We didn't do anything that was crazy stupid. We had plywood on the ground with like the super thin weightlifting mats on top of that,
Okay.
and that was our ring. That was we called it the hardwood arena because you were landing on plywood essentially, you know. So Jeremy Lewis picked me up, body slammed me on there. We were chopping the shit out of each other. You know, I was doing what I was doing. I was a bad guy, and I love being a bad guy because there's no feeling like doing something the opposite of what you do all the time, which I'm a good dude. I'm a friendly guy, you know, but sometimes you just want to be an asshole. So whenever I'm doing the wrestling thing, dude, that's what it. If I go and do any more shows, I want to be a heel. You know, I want to be that bad guy. I want to be able to talk crap to the audience. I can do the good guy stuff, but it's so much more fun doing the bad guy thing. I'm getting off topic. Anyways,
No, I
but
get
you,
that. I'm not like that though. Like my wife, she told me because there was been some companies that worked heel, and they're like, she was like, "You're not a very good heel." I'm like, "What do you mean? I thought I did great." She's like, "It's so fake. You're way too nice." I'm like, "Okay, okay."
oh
She's like, "That's
man,
just not you." She's like, "I don't like it," but and
uh,
it's funny because like my kids watch me do that, and then they're still cheering for me, and I get in the back, and they're like, "Why was everyone booing you? I don't get it."
I I uh I I got on the microphone the first time in front of a crowd. I've never been on a microphone in front of a crowd, but I got in the ring and Sarah Adam Shepard's
Yeah.
lady, she was ring announcing for the IWF, and I got in there and I was their IC champion at the time, and I got in there and I grabbed the microphone and I was just like, all of you stupid blah blah blah, you idiots and everything, and they were booing me and they hated me and I was chicken shit and I ran away from Jeremy Lewis the whole match, and it was awesome. It was a lot of fun. I loved it because I got to hear a chorus of boos for me, and that's the best feeling for me, you know, because you can get a good reaction where people, yeah, it's awesome, man. But for me, the bad guy is so much fun, so much more fun. All right, one last question before we start wrapping
Yeah.
this thing up is if you had a Mount Rushmore of wrestlers, that's four professional wrestlers, who is your Mount Rushmore of professional wrestling?
Dude, so I see people do this all the time, and there's always, I'm like, no, dude, for sure not. There's no way. And then I just realized there's no way to put four people on there, but I have always given this a thought. So you already heard me earlier, like Sting and Bret Hart were my guys. Hey, they're going up there. Like Sting and Bret Hart, like they're both great in their own way, connecting with crowd, being a technical wrestler with Bret Hart and stuff. Like they were the guys for me. And then I'm gonna put, and people are gonna hate this. You know, this is one that you put on the internet. Everyone says you suck, whatever. But you know, the future guy to break Ric Flair's championship record, John Cena, he's got to be on there because when wrestling wasn't cool, he was still cool. You know, so all that time where they went from from rated R show to a family friendly show. Like he changed with the business, and he still was top guy for so long and carried it. And then did all the stuff with the kids and stuff with the Make a Wish program. So I'm like, he's got to go on there. Not saying that he's the most technical guy, but he just, for the guy being a face of the company when it wasn't cool, he's got to be up there. And then mine, this is the one where it gets hard because this is when it changes, but I'm probably going to have to go with The Undertaker just for his longevity too, and just like him taking a character. Back then you had all these characters, all these crazy characters. You had people dressing up like Indians, or you had people dressing up like cops and stuff, and making this work. And he was the dead man, which back then that's fine, but for him to make that and take that through all these generations and still do the same thing as The Undertaker and still get over. I mean, And then, I mean, he's just being this the way he works and being a brawler, and his storytelling in every single match he's done too. So, so for me, yeah, it's got to be Undertaker, Cena, Bret Hart, and Sting. And I wish we would have got the Sting Undertaker match because that would have been awesome.
WrestleMania 31 would have been way better for it than having Triple H and freaking Triple H and Sting, dude. But that was still a really cool match regardless. I like that match because the NWO and DX both came out, man. That was pretty cool. But
that was cool.
So at the end of each of my episodes, I'm a huge fan of gratefulness. I don't know if you listen to Chris Van Vliet, but I kind of took this from him. And I'm a big fan of gratefulness because you got to be grateful for stuff, man. You gotta see what you got. You got to know what you're grateful for. Everybody's grateful for something, man. For me, for this show, I'll say three things, and I always give my guests the chance to say the same, get to say three things that they're grateful for. For me, mine don't change. I mean, you can go back to last season probably and hear the exact same three, but they're very important, you know. Number one is my support system, my beautiful wife, my two lovely daughters, my mom, my dad, my brother, and anybody who's supported me on any of these ventures that I've gone in: wrestling, music, audio dramas, my failed attempt at short films, anything, you know, anything that I've done, my support system, if they weren't there, I wouldn't be doing it. I wouldn't be able to do it. I wouldn't have the confidence in myself to continue persevering. So support system's number one. Number two is, you. Because if I'm being honest, dude, you didn't have to come on here. I'm just some random dude that likes talking to people on the internet. So I appreciate the hell out of you and any other guests that have came on the show. It means the world to me because no one wants to hear me talking by myself for more than an hour, you know, or even an hour. How boring would that be? That'd be boring as hell, man. Just be sitting here. So I appreciate the hell. I'm very grateful for any and all the guests that come on this show. It means the world to me. And the third is 2 for 1 for me. It's my health, because in September I had an accident where I was working on my car and the car rolled off the jack and fell on me. And I went to the hospital. Luckily, I didn't break any bones or anything like that. But my health has continually got better since then. And now I'm pretty much at full good health, both physically and mentally. But the other part of it is the good Lord above, because without God, you know, nothing's possible, but with him, anything is possible. So those are the things that I'm grateful for. Ray Stryker, in this moment, what are three things you are grateful for?
First is we probably talked about a lot on this podcast right here. That I'm grateful for my family, because I mean, without them, I don't have anything. Everything I do in this life is for them. So I'm grateful for my wife, and my two daughters, and my niece that's living. Like, so I have 4 kids. We adopted my niece, and I have my stepson too. But I'm grateful for every single one of them. Grateful for my family, you know, extended family too. So just showing their support to me. Gonna be grateful for for being, you know, a United States citizen, to live in this great country, because I got to serve in the military, and if I didn't serve in the military, I wouldn't be where I am today. Would never met my wife. Wouldn't have the job I have today. So grateful for my job, because there's a lot of people out there struggling and you know, just trying to make ends meet. I have a good job, you know, so I'm grateful to have what I have here. And then I'm like you. I'm grateful for the Lord above, everything He's put in my path, and then keeping me on the path that He is for me. So grateful for Him, and I just try to keep doing what I believe that He would want me to do. So with taking those steps in life, like I'm trying to do right now. And I appreciate you for having me on here. It's my first time doing a podcast, so hopefully I wasn't too boring to y'all and didn't ramble too much, because I tend to. So thank you for having me, man.
No, man, it was a lot of fun. I loved the conversation, man. I had a really good time. Laughed, talked, had a really good time. Talked about some mental health stuff. Awesome time, dude. It was great. And
I'm glad you're doing that.
Yeah. Yeah, man. Those are three things that are definitely worth being grateful for. I agree with you 100%, man. Family, living in this country, and the good Lord above. 3 things definitely worth being grateful for. Where can people find any of the Ray Stryker stuff, whether it's like the page to check out your posts, to check out your matches, to talk to you, say, hey, where can they find Ray Stryker?
Sure, I'm gonna. There's only one place, and it's gonna be on Facebook. You can find my fan page is Ray Stryker, just there on Facebook. Kind of getting quiet, especially with me. Look at the retirement stuff, but I still post stuff, share stuff. But I really don't really have anywhere else. I'm not huge into social media. I used to be. I do have a TikTok, where I share some wrestling stuff, but mostly now it's just me doing crazy stuff or doing trendy TikTok dances with my daughter. But but you can look me up just by Ray Serber on TikTok, and you'll find me. So Ray Serber on Facebook. I don't really add a lot of people unless you're inside my inner circle. So if you're trying to find me and I don't give you an ad, don't take it personal. I just try to keep my Facebook to my inner circle. So, but if you want to add and follow me on that, as a fan, go to the Ray Stryker page, and I'll try to keep like pushing out some kind of wrestling stuff when I'm retired. But I know it's gonna get quiet, so I'm kind of going ghost a little bit.
Right on, man. Well, dude, I had a great time. It was a lot of fun, and I appreciate you coming on the show, man.
Oh, it's fun. Thank you.
Yes, sir. You have a good rest of your night, man.
You too.